everybody. This is David Dulany with 10 Bound. Thanks so much for joining us on the largest online sales development summit with Inside Sales and Sales Hacker. I am just absolutely honored to be able to share some hard-won information with you today that I hope that you can take and use immediately as a sales development rep, as an AE, as a sales leader, or leading a company. This is good stuff. Thanks so much to Inside Sales and Sales Hacker for having me on today. I will be talking about personas and pain points, which I believe are your keys to successful messaging in what's going to be 2018 and beyond. As I mentioned, my name is David Dulany. I'm with a company called 10 Bound here in San Francisco, and we work with sales development teams to improve their performance, either through training programs, consulting programs, or events, including the Sales Development Conference in September. We're going to do one again in September in San Francisco at the Ritz-Carlton, San Francisco. So stay tuned for that over at 10bound.com. So let's dive in. Why are we talking about personas today, and why do I think that they're your key to successful messaging? I'm very excited to talk with folks on the rep track today, on the representative track, and I hope that all the sales development reps or account development reps, whatever you call yourself, can gain value off of this presentation, because I know how hard the job is. I've done it myself. I continue to do it as a business owner, and I know some of the roadblocks, both as someone doing the job and also as someone receiving the messages. And so why do we start with learning about personas versus learning all about your product and how it works and all the different angles of your product and your catalog? What is a persona, and where does this even come from? It comes from actually user experience and how people use websites. They take who the person is that's using it, what their usual age range is, what their usual job is, and the usual characteristics, and they kind of boil it down into a general way, a shorthand of saying who's actually using the product. And I really strongly believe that before you start to learn about all the great things that your product does, where you want to spend your time really focusing is who actually uses your product and what are the characteristics of that individual. With really focusing on the people that actually are the end users, you're going to put yourself way ahead of the pack in your average SDR type of skill development, and put yourself at the front of the line when it comes time to get promoted to an account executives. The real competitor that we have out there is not necessarily the competitor that you're going up against. It's actually looks more like this. It's competing for attention of the people that we're talking to. And so, as you can see, this is just a recent screenshot that I took. I've got 17 different tabs open of different projects that I'm working on. I've got 6 or 7 different Chrome plugins of different things that I've got. I've got 2,159 emails that I need to figure out what to do with. Also over on the left there, I've got people tweeting me. I've got LinkedIn updates. I've got Facebook. All the family obligations, all the outside obligations, and I'm just one person trying to deal with all this stuff. So you can imagine when I get the average message from a sales development rep who doesn't know anything about me, doesn't know anything about the things that I'm worried about, it just adds to this overall disjointed, fragmented lack of focus and attention. And it's so easy for me to simply delete this. So we have to be able to compete with this very, very competitive market that we have out there, which is just getting people's attention, just getting them to pause long enough to read through our message and see if it's something that can actually help them. This is what you're competing against. And this is why it's so important for you to learn, who is this person that I'm trying to impact? Who is this person whose email box I'm going to be adding to with my message? Whose voicemail box I'm going to be adding to with my message? And, what makes them tick? And that's why, as I said, when you think about personas, make that part of your vocabulary. Who is this person and what are the various characteristics that they have? So, number one, as you think about, your product and what you're selling, um, who are, let's say, the top 3 or 4 people that are involved in the deals? Okay. Where are they located? Both within the country and also within their organization. What are some key performance indicators that uh, are really critical to their success? And I'll give you some examples, but a couple other quick questions. What are their top 3 priorities for the year? What are they trying to accomplish? When do they know if they're doing well? And when do they know if they're going to be in trouble? What are those things that you can, really get to know about this group of people in order to kind of classify them into what we call a persona? So I'll give you an example. Let's say that you were selling software that could potentially impact the life of a VP of sales. Okay. So, just from talking to people, you probably find this out on the first day that a great target for your prospecting is the VP of sales. Okay, so that's a great indicator. Okay, you've got probably your first persona right there. Okay, we know from talking to people that we go after the VP of sales. Okay, so now we need to figure out, who are these people? How can I characterize them into a persona? And how can I, put that down on paper and get to know more about their world? As a sales development rep, you might have been, doing another job before this. This could be your first sales job, or you were in a different industry, or this could be, the first time that you've actually had to, learn about the business world, for example. So if you think about it, you know that your main persona is the VP of sales. And what does it take to actually become a VP of sales? Okay. You need to work your way up the sales organization. You need several years of experience, most likely, in closing small deals and medium sized deals and complex deals. You need experience running a sales organization from a small team up to directing and managing managers, and then finally managing a team of directors as a VP. You need executive skills. You need to be able to talk to the CEO about your pipeline forecast and about the deals that you have in play and where you think you're going to end the quarter. Okay, there's a number of different pieces of experience that you have to take to become a VP of sales. Okay, so now taking it back from the example, if this persona is your target, then you need to kind of break down, okay, what does that experience level look like? What did they have to do to become a VP of sales? And then finally, sort of almost get in their head a little bit. Okay, now that they are a VP of sales, when I say key performance indicator, what are the 3 or 4 things that most VP of sales really have to worry about every night? Before they go to bed, they're up, tossing and turning, trying to figure out, you know, uh, how are they going to accomplish these 3 or 4 things so that they can be successful in their job. You must be able to identify those. And that's just an example. You may not be calling on the VP of sales. You may be calling on the head of a technology. You may be calling on car dealerships. You may be calling on people who run salons and things like that. But you have to at least have that persona nailed down and be able to speak to it. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make the messaging really resonate. Because, you know, really you got to get inside their head and also to some extent inside their heart. And we're not necessarily just people who are a name and a phone number in a database. You know, even someone who's very high level executive is still a human being, and they're beyond just a simple name and phone number and what you may read about in your CRM. They're an actual person, and you have to be able to become an expert in, what do they really care about? How do they like to communicate? Are they more telephone people? Do they like email? Do they prefer text? Do they hang out in social networks? Are there particular groups? Are there places that they go? Are there events? All these different things make up the characteristics of the persona and help you to understand not only what they're thinking about, but also, what really drives them potentially emotionally. What do they like? What do they dislike? Generally some facts that you can get about them so that you can take this information and create that persona uh, uh, profile that you can then create your messaging off of. And finally, as you kind of get that persona profile put together, now you have to kind of shift it to yourself and think about, what do you really care about? You're going to want to become an expert in the pain points and the things that are really, concerning your key persona. You're going to want to become an expert in that. Um, I would argue that it's even more important to become an expert in those pain points and those drivers versus necessarily what your product even does. I mean, that's very important, but and you need to tie that back, and we'll talk about that. But really, thing number one is, who is this? I'll bring it back to the example. Who is this VP of sales? What are those aspects of the persona profile that you've put together that drive them emotionally and drive their decision making process? And do I really care about those things? Um, am I just trying to sell them something, or am I just trying to land an appointment with them, but I don't really care? I mean, you got to kind of look yourself in the mirror and figure that out for yourself, because that's going to come through. If somebody's just trying to sell me something, or they're just pushing their product, or they're just trying to push me in to take a meeting, I'm going to feel that. And quite frankly, people become repulsed by that kind of approach. And so you really got to kind of look yourself in the mirror and figure out, do I truly care about the persona that I'm attempting to engage with? Do I care about what they are thinking about? Am I really trying to help them, or am I just trying to push them into a meeting? Because they're gonna get that email, and again, I showed you my email box. It's not even as crazy as some people's. They're gonna get that. They're gonna feel that immediately. They're gonna meet you at a conference. They're gonna feel that immediately. I mean, people really want to feel that you're genuinely trying to help them, before they kind of open up that trust to you, and before they want to continue to have a business relationship. So you got to really ask yourself, whatever you're selling right now, do you genuinely care about the people that you're engaging with? Because if you don't, then you need to figure out how to maybe spend more time with them, get to know them better, or go out and meet some of them and build that up, or you could potentially be in the wrong business right now. And you gotta take a step back and go, do I really want to do this for the next 5 years or however long? Because if you're not if you don't genuinely feel it in your deep down in your bones, then it's going to be hard to continue on when you're getting a lot of rejection, which comes naturally as a sales development rep. Now, how do you do this? How do you go out and find these people, and start to learn about them? Again, if you're starting out as a sales development rep and you haven't been a VP of sales for 20 years, how do you find this information? Well, thing number one is, of course, read all the case studies that you have on hand. Read your sales playbook if you have one. I'm sure that there's a lot of good information in there. Learn about any information that your company provides about the personas. Learn that thing inside and out, and then go within your company and find that key person that you need to be talking to. So I'm sure that if you're calling on VPs of sales, go and find the VP of sales and take them out to lunch, take them out to coffee, go grab a beer, get to know them and ask them, what are your KPIs? How do you interact with the executives? What things are you concerned about? Right before you go to bed. What events do you go to? What drives you? And use that. If nobody made a persona sheet for you, um, use that information to make one yourself, and then go give it to your manager and tell them, hey, I made this so that I could figure out who I was calling on. Um, the next thing is, go find your number one sales rep at your company and take them out to lunch and go, look, I want to learn everything that I can understand about the people that are buying this product, the people that are buying our service. What keeps them up at night? What are they concerned about? How are they measured? Take notes and cross check it against the interview that you had with your own VP of sales, and use it to augment that persona profile that you created, in order to really make sure that you've got all the information that you can about this person that you're going to be calling on, and create a little cheat sheet. Take it a step further. Make a quick brown bag lunch for your team and present it and go, okay, I'm new to this. I needed to find out who these people were and what they were driven by. So I went out and I talked to our number one sales rep and our own VP of sales, and I put that together. Here's what I learned. Boom, boom, boom. And then they can add more of stuff that they know about it. A couple of other quick things. If you can, go out and talk to the people that have actually bought your product, purchased your product. How are they using it? What are they doing? What problems is it solving? Why is it important? How is it helping? Gather all that information from those actual people, because they're the ones that are, they were a prospect at some point in the past. They either became an inbound lead or someone cold called them to bring them into the fold, and now they're using it and they're getting a lot of value out of it. So they're a perfect person to talk to. Go out on a sales call and talk with them. Learn more about it. Even go up to another idea. Go up to your CEO or the founder of the company. Depending on how big your company is, if it's a startup, take the founder out to lunch. Hey, same thing. Why did you start the company? What problem are you trying to solve? Who are the people that are involved in this? Tell me more about them. Give me all the information about why our company's product is going to make their life so much better. So that I can really understand this. So you're gathering all this information as part of your persona, profile that you're putting together, because we're going to be using it in the messaging. So again, do you really care about these people? Look yourself in the mirror, make sure that it's something that you're passionate about and that you want to talk about for the next few years, and then go for it 100%. Okay? Now, okay, we've got the persona profile put together. We've got a pretty good idea about who we're talking about. Now we need to focus on translating that from, okay, here's who we're talking to, here's my potential buyer, we got to translate that into an action plan. And this is something that your average sales development rep can do. It just takes a little bit of work at the upfront, but it's also going to be your AE and your business owner that can put it together. So you just need two items. Very very simple to think about, harder to implement, but you got to do that extra work at the upfront. You need two items. You need a list and you need a framework. Okay, so let's talk about the list. Okay, list. You only have a certain amount of time. You only have a certain amount of resources. So you really want to narrow down your list to those key accounts that would make or break your business. And these are ones that especially if you're thinking about outbound, these are the ones that I want to put my time and resources toward, because they're going to make such a huge impact. Okay, we got that list. Get that list worked out. Whatever you have to do, get it from your account executive, get it from your CEO, get it from your own work of figuring out what your A accounts are. It's going to be different for every company, but you first got to have that list put together. Okay. Number two, the key personas. Okay. We start with one that you're going to know inside and out. You've done your interviews. Okay. You've got your persona sheet worked out, and you feel like you're kind of starting to get inside the head of the people. You know who they are. What their KPIs are. You know what they're driven by. You know what events that they like to go to. You know what groups that they hang out in. You've got a pretty good handle on the first steps of a persona sheet. Okay, so you got that together. Now we want their top three pain points of that. Like, take all that information and boil it down into, these are the top three things that are both at the top of their mind, and also get them going potentially emotionally. And just as an example, for the VP of sales, it could be making quota, building a huge pipeline, and potentially losing their job if they don't make their number. I mean, that's a pretty big pain point, right? So you've got three major pain points lined up, and now next thing, of course, you got to have clean data. So if you again, as the SDR, have to go out and get the data, you're going to have to do a lot of research. That's very labor intensive and time intensive. Do it on your own time, bring it in during work time so that you can plug it into this formula. You could potentially have interns, gathering this information and teeing it up for you. The information could already be available in your CRM, so you just got to go find it. But you got to have that data that you can put together on the list. And you may even consider putting together a quick map of the various personas. You can see some work that we did with an IT company that was in the cybersecurity space. And as you can see, they had actually 7 different personas that could potentially be involved in a deal. Okay, you're only one person. You don't want to try to boil the ocean in one step. Okay, so just pick one persona. Let's say over on the left, we're going to pick the network admin. Okay, we know that the network admin has 3 major pain points that they're dealing with: the bad user behavior, the poor integrations, and the system reliability. Those are 3 major pains that would drive the network admin to potentially, look at that email and go, huh, okay, this guy actually gets what I'm going through right now, and I may actually take a call from this person versus just another, cybersecurity vendor, spamming them with, personalized information. All right, so we got 3 things here. Okay, and now this framework is very, very simple. Like, say I've got a list of my A accounts. I ran a list, it's 100 accounts. Okay, within those 100 accounts, we know that I'm just brainstorming, but we know that within those 100 accounts, there's at least 2 to 3 network admins. Okay, let's go back to putting the list together. Okay, within those 100 accounts, we know that there's 2 or 3 network admins. Okay. Network admins, all right, I got my persona sheet over here. I'm looking at all this information. I know that I've got those three key pain points, okay? And I know that I've got some clean data in here to be able to go out and find them, okay? So now we just make a simple framework. You can be as simple or as fancy as you want. Here I've got a picture of a spreadsheet. It's a simple spreadsheet, and what we need to do is just lay out for my network admin what are going to be my three messages that I send over a course of 2 weeks. Um, my three messages that point to those pain points and speak about a business driver and add how I can potentially help. Okay. You want to, I'm going to paraphrase a good friend of mine, Matt Admonson at Everstring, who gives the big three. Okay. You want to give them some context, you want to give them some content, and then you want to challenge them. Okay. In each of the message, you got those three C's. So the content, the context, the content, and the challenge. Okay. And the context is going to be, why are you reaching out? So that's when we go back and we get one of our pain points and we plug it in as the first message. And so you can see we got up here, bad user behavior is one of the key pain points for the network admin. Perfect. So we're going to build our first message on bad user behavior, and we put it in the title line, the subject line of the email. We do maybe one sentence about how bad user behavior is a key challenge. Put in a little bit of content. Here's a white paper that you could read about how we dealt with that. And hey, is this something that you're dealing with right now? Because if it is, I would love to talk with you. Um, here's how we're seeing other companies do it, and how they deal with it. Here's how I could potentially help you in looking at that from a wider perspective, because I talk to cybersecurity companies every day. You wouldn't put that in the first message, but you could spread that out over three different messages, and really challenge them to think a bit different and offer yourself as help. Now you've got those emails written out according to the pain point and how you could potentially help them. Now you're going to pick up the phone. Okay, it's the same process. We're talking about the context. Why are you calling? It's because we know that network admins have this pain point that they're generally trying to solve. We've worked with other companies to help them improve that. I have some great information that I can share across the industry that you can't get while you're in your company, and that's why I'm calling. I would love to chat with you about that and see how we could help either now or in the future. Is that something that you'd be interested in challenging in chatting about? Is that a challenge that you're facing right now? Okay, and then of course it's a cold call, so the conversation could go in a lot of different directions, but at least you're offering something of value, and that's going to be the differentiation between you and hundreds of other people who doesn't know anything about the person they're calling. They don't know anything about the challenges. They don't really care, to be honest, and it comes through on the phone. You're going to separate yourself by really understanding the persona and really understanding those pain points and putting them into your messaging throughout. Maybe it's a 3-touch email and 3 phone calls. Maybe it's 6 touches. Maybe it's 9. Whatever you end up doing, make sure that every message passes the persona and pain point test. If it doesn't really show that you understand the persona and you understand their pain points, don't send it. Even if it was written by somebody else, hold it up, redo it, make it, something relevant and valuable to your prospects, and you will get better results. Um, the last quick thing to think about is that with artificial intelligence taking over, I mean, I just call it the robots taking over. We literally will be replaced by robots if we don't use this human approach of really understanding the pain points and personas that we're calling on. If we can't string this together and make it into something valuable, we will simply be replaced. This brings the human into the equation that for right now at least cannot be replaced. But literally, if you're just like pressing buttons on a program that's sending out 100, repetitive emails, or if you're just like robocalling and reading from a script, look out, because you're probably going to be replaced. So anyways, that's my soapbox. Hey, if you would like to talk about this more, if you're interested in bringing this in and doing some consulting or training at your company, our website's there. It's tenbound.com. Give us a call or just hit me up in the chat box. And I would love to chat with you more about how to operationalize this, because I know it's a lot of information and I know it's a lot different than probably you've heard from other sources. But I really feel that in 2018, doing the work on the personas and pain points and working that into your messaging will get you more appointments, will get you more sales, and ultimately make you a lot more money. And I think it's worth the time and effort to put in. So again, David Dulany with Tenbound, tenbound.com. Hit me up, and good luck with everything and good selling.